Legend klanına herkese selamlar arkadaşlar. Ben Anıl. Bugün Stanley Parable oynayacağım. İndirime girmişti, hemen alayım dedim. Videosunu çekeceğim şimdi sizlere. Şöyle oyuna başladan hemen girelim. Evet, oruçluyum, biraz sinirli tepkiler verebilirim. Belki karnım aç, susuzum. Ölüyorum ekran başında ama aldım, bir deneme yapayım, çekeyim dedim. Bakalım nasıl bir şeymiş. Hep beraber tadalım. Evet, uzun bir yükleyiş olabilir belki.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
Yazık lan adama. Böyle iş mi olur? Senin tuşlara basıyormuş.
Stanley relished every moment.
Emanet iyi basıyor klavyenin tuşuna, o da gözünden kaçmadı. Güzel mantık.
And Stanley was happy.
Böyle bir işten mutlu olacaksın.
And then one day something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Güzel, bakalım. Kapılar arkamdan kapanıyor mu acaba? Öyle bir şey var mı? Evet, olmadı. Kapılar niye hepsi kilitli ya? Gidelim bakalım. Ürkütücü ortam aslında ama.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
İyi bakalım, soldaki kapı diyorsa soldan gireceğiz. Hikayeyi takip edelim, sonunu merak ettim. Böyle sağdan girmem seçeneğimiz de vardır belki ama denerim sonra.
Yet there was not a single person here
Burada toplantı
either.
odası oluyor sanırım.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Gideyim o zaman, bakayım nedir. Yüksek düzey İngilizcem olduğu için hiçbir şey anlamadım. Evet. Bir şeyler. Para. Daha çok para. Güzel kafa. Gidiyorum. Aman tanrım, açılan bir kapı mı varmış?
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Gidiyorum o zaman.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Üzücü. Ah. Bura patronumuzun ofisi mi oluyor acaba? İyi, gireceğiz ama bir şeyler kurcalamak istiyorum şu an. Neden E'ye bastığında tuş basma sesi geliyor ki?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human
Şu afalamam
life.
gerekiyor.
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him.
Bundan mı
And so
bahsediyor
the
acaba?
boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. But yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the
Güzel
correct
kafaymış
code by
kardeş.
sheer
Nasıl bir
luck.
şans bu ya? Nasıl
Amazing.
yapabilirim?
He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Bayağı korkutucu ortamlara giriyorsun. Kafama bir canavar atlamasın. Bismillah. Korkmam gerekiyor sanırım şu an. Nasıl ortamlara giriyoruz arkadaşlar hiçbir şey bilmiyorum ama altyazılar oyunu bayağı komikleştirmiş yani. Arkada konuşan adamın sesine bayıldım. Tuşları bize söyledi. Sonra nasıl buldu falan dedim. Bu güzel kafaymış. Hoşuma gitti, evet. Bakacağız.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit
Evet, ayrıcalıklı bir Stanley.
It was a sting of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more
Evet.
free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This
İş yeri yeni
question would
boşaldı
not
kardeşim.
go unanswered for long.
Anladım. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ne oluyoruz oğlum? Korkuyorum aga.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Nerelere geldik lan?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Burası ne?
What
Soğuk.
horrible secret did this place hold?
Bir şirkette böyle bir yerin
Stanley
olması
thought
bence
to
pek
himself.
mantıklı değil ama.
Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Olması gereken sona gidiyoruz sanırım, evet.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Yazık lan. Bu nasıl bir şirket oğlum? Beyin falan yıkamışlar adamlar resmen.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ne yapmam gerekiyor? Korkuyorum. Üstüme falan bir şey atlayacak gibi geliyor, ortam bayağı gerici. Aşağıda bir şey yazıyor, onu okumam lazım şu an. Mind control.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Lan?
Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off and leave.
Kapatacaktı
If
tabii
you want
ya.
to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system.
Arkadaki
In the
bayağı
event
gerici
that
olacak.
this machine is activated without proper
Korkuyorum,
DNA
evet.
identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes.
Yapma.
Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that?
3 nerede?
You'd like to know where your co-workers are?
3.
A moment of solace before you're obliterated.
Burada 5 var.
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're going to die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone.
5'e basmayacağım.
Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though. This version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you, running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Don't you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully?
Dalga mı geçiyor?
Another choice.
Şu an bildiğin bize
Make it
goodbye diyor.
Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever after.
Uff. Öldük mü? Öldük galiba. Evet, ölmüşüz. Bayağı üzücü bir ölüm oldu. Bu nasıl bir ölümdü ya? Moral bozdu bayağı yani. Şimdi ne yapacağız? Tekrar sıfırdan mı başlayacak? Gerçekten enteresanmış.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Easter egg falan saklamış.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Lan üstüne mi çıktım ben bunu? Sanki zaten üstüne çıktım ama. Çıkıyor. Çıktım. Çıkıyor muyum şu an? Bir dakika, what? What? What?
At first,
Ben ne yaptım şu
Stanley
an?
assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along.
Çok mantıklı.
He
Oyunun
then praised the game
parçasıymış.
for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes.
Abi ne yaptım ben bunu
So,
diyor.
now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Evet. Are you sick of this gag? No.
Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same
Abi,
idea
ne
but
diyorsun?
rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in
sonuç
total
olarak ne
just to
yapacağız?
have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option.
Evet,
Indeed,
evet, şimdi
you
bir
are
şey
one of
gelecek
the
herhalde.
lucky
Böyle
ones.
dediğine göre
Though
abi.
if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other options so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
YSM mi istiyorsun kardeşim? Demiyorum. Demeyeceğim evet. Demeyeceğim, uğraşmayın. Kesin bir şey geliyordu ama hadi diyeceğim. Hadi denilmiyor da. What the fuck? Oyun yeniden başla falan mı dememiz gerekiyor? Yoksa burada sonsuza kadar bekleyeceğiz sanırım. Üzdü. Ne sıkıcı senaryo. İyi bakalım. O zaman ilk bölümü burada bitirelim arkadaşlar, izin verirseniz. Ne yaptık bugün? Gittik. Haritanın bug'ını bulduk. Sol taraftan gittik ilk başta, şu tarafta.
All of his co-workers were
Evet.
gone.
Sonra
What could it mean?
doğru kapıdan gittik
Stanley
ve
decided to go to the
patlayan
meeting.
bir sona doğru
Perhaps he had
gittik.
simply
Patladık, hiçbir
missed
şey
a memo.
yapamadık. Bir dahaki videoda da herhalde oradan düz gidelim, bakalım neler varmış neler yokmuş. Serinin devam etmesini izliyorsanız klasik saçma sözleri söyleyeceğim ama kusura bakmayın. Videomuzu beğenin, paylaşın, abone olun, yorum atın. Bize destekleyin, bize destek çıkın. İzlediğiniz için teşekkür ederiz. Kendinize iyi bakın. Görüşmek üzere.